Before you answer another text, defend yourself, or argue with someone trying to provoke you, watch this. One reaction can give away your peace. These 7 psychological insights may help you keep it. Stay until the end because the final one is often the hardest to master, but it can change how you handle difficult people forever. Most people believe they lose because they are not strong enough, intelligent enough, or talented enough. The truth is often far more unsettling. They lose because they react. Every unnecessary argument steals their focus. Every emotional response reveals their weaknesses. Every attempt to explain themselves gives others more information than they should ever possess. The world is full of people who understand one simple principle. If they can control your attention, they can influence your decisions. That is why the strongest individuals are rarely the loudest. They know when to speak, when to remain silent, and when to walk away without looking back. Their greatest weapon is not force, but self-mastery. Everything begins with understanding the hidden power of emotional control. 1. The hidden power of emotional control. The moment someone can influence your emotions, they begin influencing your decisions. Anger, frustration, and the need to prove yourself often lead to choices that reason would never make. Emotional control is not about becoming cold or detached, but about refusing to let temporary feelings dictate permanent actions. A calm mind sees opportunities hidden inside conflict and notices motives that emotional reactions often overlook. The person who remains composed under pressure forces others to reveal more than they intended, turning self-control into a quiet source of strength, clarity, and lasting psychological advantage in every situation. 2. Never explain what your actions already prove. Many people believe they must constantly defend their choices, hoping explanations will earn understanding or approval. In reality, excessive explanation often signals uncertainty and invites unnecessary judgment. Those who are secure in their decisions allow consistent actions to speak louder than carefully crafted words. Not everyone deserves access to your reasoning, and not every accusation requires a response. The more you chase validation through endless justification, the more control you surrender to the opinions of others. Quiet confidence grows when your behavior consistently reflects your values without demanding recognition, agreement, or permission from anyone. 3. Recognize emotional bait before you react. Not every criticism is offered to help you improve, and not every disagreement is meant to reach the truth. Some people understand that the fastest way to gain influence over another person is to provoke an emotional reaction. They know that once emotions take control, logic begins to fade into the background. A single insult, a sarcastic comment, a dismissive look, or a carefully timed accusation can become a psychological hook designed to pull you into someone else's emotional state. The objective is rarely to win the argument itself. The objective is to make you abandon your self-control. Emotional bait works because it targets identity rather than ideas. When people feel that their intelligence, reputation, or self-worth has been questioned, the natural instinct is to defend themselves immediately. They interrupt, raise their voice, over-explain, or attempt to prove the other person wrong. In that moment, they stop observing and start reacting. The conversation is no longer guided by reason, but by wounded pride. This is exactly where manipulation becomes easier because emotional people become predictable people. Developing awareness begins with recognizing your personal triggers. Every individual has certain words, situations, or behaviors that instantly create discomfort. For one person, it may be disrespect. For another, it may be rejection, criticism, comparison, or feeling ignored. These emotional pressure points often develop over years of experience, making them easy targets for someone who pays close attention. The more familiar you become with your own triggers, the less power they hold over your decisions. Manipulative individuals are usually patient. They rarely attack directly in the beginning. Instead, they observe your habits, your reactions, and your emotional patterns. They notice what excites you, what frustrates you, and what causes you to lose composure. Once they understand your patterns, they begin using small tests to measure your responses. If they discover that a certain comment consistently provokes you, they will continue using it because they have found a reliable way to influence your behavior. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing they must answer every challenge. They assume that silence looks weak, or that ignoring disrespect means accepting it. In reality, immediate reactions often satisfy the very person trying to provoke them. Your anger becomes proof that the strategy worked. Your lengthy explanation gives them more information. Your frustration keeps the conversation alive long after it should have ended. Refusing to react immediately interrupts this pattern and forces the other person to adjust because the outcome they expected never arrives. Observation is a powerful substitute for reaction. Instead of asking yourself how to respond, ask why the behavior is happening in the first place. What does the other person hope to gain? Are they seeking attention, validation, control, or emotional satisfaction? Looking beyond the words allows you to see the intention behind them. Once the intention becomes clear, the emotional impact often begins to disappear because you are no longer responding to appearances but to underlying motives. Remaining calm does not mean becoming passive. It means choosing your response rather than allowing someone else to choose it for you. There are moments when firm action is necessary, but those actions become far more effective when they are guided by clear thinking instead of emotional impulse. Calmness creates distance between stimulus and response, and within that distance lies the freedom to act wisely rather than automatically. Self-control is strengthened through repeated practice. Each time you resist the urge to react instantly, you reinforce the habit of thoughtful decision-making. Over time, people begin to notice that their usual tactics no longer disturb you. Those who rely on emotional manipulation often lose interest when they realize they cannot influence your state of mind. Without your reaction, their strategy loses its effectiveness, leaving them with far fewer ways to shape the interaction. Strong individuals are not those who never experience anger or disappointment. They simply refuse to allow those emotions to dictate their behavior. They understand that every emotional outburst reveals information about themselves, while every moment of composure preserves clarity. By choosing observation over impulse, they protect both their judgment and their dignity, making emotional discipline one of the most valuable forms of personal strength. Silence is more powerful than winning arguments. Many people believe victory belongs to the person who speaks the most, argues the hardest, or delivers the final word. Yet in many situations, the greatest influence comes from the person who understands when not to speak. Silence is often mistaken for weakness because it lacks the drama people expect. In reality, silence can communicate confidence, patience, and self-control more effectively than endless explanation ever could. Arguments usually begin with the belief that changing another person's mind is the highest priority. However, most heated disagreements are not driven by logic, but by emotion, pride, and the desire to protect one's identity. When people become emotionally invested in being right, evidence rarely changes their position. Instead, every new argument strengthens their commitment to defend themselves. Continuing to push against that resistance often creates more conflict rather than more understanding. Silence interrupts this cycle. It denies emotional conflict the energy it requires to grow. When someone expects resistance and receives calm restraint instead, the entire dynamic changes. They are left with fewer opportunities to provoke, accuse, or manipulate because the conversation no longer follows the pattern they anticipated. Silence shifts attention away from emotional performance and toward thoughtful observation. Choosing silence also creates room for listening. Most people are so focused on preparing their next response that they miss valuable information hidden inside the other person's words. Careful listening reveals priorities, fears, assumptions, and motivations that would otherwise remain unnoticed. Every conversation contains more information than the words themselves. Tone of voice, timing, repeated themes, and emotional intensity often reveal what truly matters to someone. A quiet observer notices these details while others remain distracted by the desire to speak. There is also strength in allowing your actions to become your explanation. Constantly defending yourself places your reputation in the hands of other people's opinions. Consistent behavior, however, builds credibility over time without requiring repeated justification. People eventually trust what they repeatedly witness more than what they repeatedly hear. A life of consistent action becomes far more persuasive than endless promises or carefully constructed arguments. Silence protects emotional energy. Every unnecessary conflict consumes attention that could be invested elsewhere. Time spent proving yourself to people determined not to understand you is time unavailable for growth, learning, meaningful relationships, or important work. Intelligent people recognize that attention is limited and therefore choose carefully where to invest it. They understand that not every disagreement deserves equal importance. Remaining silent does not mean avoiding responsibility or refusing necessary conversations. There are moments when speaking honestly is essential. The difference lies in intention. Speaking from clarity seeks solutions. Speaking from wounded pride seeks victory. One builds understanding while the other often deepens division. Knowing the difference requires emotional maturity and disciplined judgment. Silence also increases your ability to observe human nature. People often reveal far more when they believe they are filling an uncomfortable silence. They continue talking, explain themselves further, contradict earlier statements, or reveal motives they never intended to share. The less pressure you feel to respond immediately, the more information naturally comes toward you. This transforms silence from an absence of communication into a powerful method of gathering insight. There is a quiet confidence in refusing to chase the approval of every audience. Not everyone will understand your choices, and not every misunderstanding requires correction. Some opinions change only through time and consistent behavior rather than persuasive words. Accepting this reality frees you from the exhausting need to manage every perception others have of you. Those who master silence understand that influence does not always come from speaking first or speaking most. Often it comes from speaking only when your words carry purpose, precision, and value. A carefully chosen sentence delivered after thoughtful observation carries far greater weight than countless emotional reactions spoken in haste. Silence becomes not a withdrawal from strength, but an expression of it, preserving clarity, protecting dignity, and allowing wisdom to guide every response. 5. Ignore manipulation that seeks your attention. Attention is one of your most valuable resources, which is why manipulative people work so hard to capture it. They create unnecessary conflict, spread gossip, provoke arguments, or manufacture drama because your emotional involvement gives them influence. The moment you become consumed by their behavior, they have successfully redirected your focus away from your own goals. Learn to distinguish between problems that require action and distractions that only demand a reaction. Choosing to ignore calculated manipulation is not avoidance, but disciplined self-control, preserving your energy for opportunities that genuinely deserve your time and attention. Point 6. Protect your peace by setting invisible boundaries. Not every boundary needs to be announced for it to be effective. Invisible boundaries are created through consistent actions rather than repeated warnings. They determine how much access people have to your time, attention, emotions, and personal life. When someone repeatedly disrespects your values or drains your energy, reducing your availability often communicates more than endless conversations. Protecting your peace requires the courage to disappoint those who expect unlimited access to you. Quiet consistency teaches others how you expect to be treated without turning every disagreement into a confrontation or unnecessary explanation. 7. Refuse to be predictable in conflict. People gain influence over you when they can accurately predict your reactions. If every insult produces anger, every criticism demands a defense, or every disagreement follows the same emotional pattern, others quickly learn how to control the direction of the interaction. Breaking this pattern begins with thoughtful restraint. Respond differently than expected by remaining calm, asking questions instead of making accusations, or choosing silence when others anticipate confrontation. Unpredictability does not mean acting randomly. It means refusing to let emotions create habits that others can exploit, preserving your independence and strengthening your psychological resilience. Turn patience into your greatest psychological advantage. Patience is more than waiting. It is the discipline to let situations reveal themselves before making a move. Many people act too quickly because discomfort makes them feel that immediate action is necessary. Those who remain patient gather more information, recognize hidden motives, and avoid decisions driven by pressure or emotion. Time often exposes truths that hurried judgments completely miss. By resisting the urge to react instantly, you place yourself in a stronger position to choose wisely rather than impulsively. Calm patience transforms uncertainty into clarity and allows better decisions to emerge naturally through careful observation. Master your attention before others capture it. Your attention determines what influences your thinking, emotions, and decisions. In a world filled with constant distractions, many people unknowingly allow others to decide where their focus belongs. Every unnecessary argument, endless notification, and emotional controversy competes for the limited energy you possess each day. Those who master their attention choose deliberately what deserves their time and what should be ignored without hesitation. They understand that focus is a form of power because whatever consistently occupies the mind gradually shapes beliefs, habits, and future actions, making disciplined attention one of life's greatest competitive advantages. Walk away and let time reveal the truth. Not every battle deserves your participation, and not every misunderstanding requires immediate correction. Time has a remarkable ability to expose intentions, reveal character, and separate truth from appearance without your constant involvement. Walking away from unnecessary conflict is not surrender, but confidence in your ability to protect your peace and preserve your energy for greater priorities. Those who constantly chase the last word often lose sight of the bigger picture, while those who remain patient allow reality to unfold naturally. True strength is measured by knowing when your silence accomplishes more than your words. The greatest victories are rarely visible in the moment. They happen quietly, inside the mind, long before the world notices the results. Every lesson you've discovered today points toward one timeless principle. Your life changes the moment you stop allowing other people to dictate your emotions, your attention, and your decisions. The people who manipulate, provoke, criticize, or create unnecessary drama are all competing for the same thing: your focus. Once they have it, they influence your thinking. Once they lose it, they lose their power over you. Learn to recognize emotional bait before it reaches your mind. Let your actions carry more weight than your explanations. Build invisible boundaries that protect your peace. Stay patient when others rush. Remain unpredictable when others expect emotional reactions. And guard your attention as if it were your greatest asset, because it is. Real strength is not measured by how many battles you win. It is measured by how many unnecessary battles you refuse to fight. The person who masters himself becomes increasingly difficult to manipulate, impossible to intimidate, and free to direct his energy toward a life that truly matters. Remember this: true strength is measured by knowing when your silence accomplishes more than your words. If this video changed the way you think, subscribe and join a community dedicated to mastering the psychology of influence, discipline, and self-control. Every video is designed to sharpen your mind so you can see what others miss. And tell me in the comments, which is harder for you? Staying silent when provoked, or refusing to explain yourself? Your answer might reveal the very habit that's been giving others power over you.